Hi there, my name is Masha Jürgens, and welcome to the live workshop here at the IE. So today we're going to talk about the character animation and specifically about the hands, how to animate the hands, how make them looking nice. So first of all, I want to introduce myself. So my name is Masha Jürgens, and I am a 3D animator. I've been doing animation or working as an animator for about 20 years now. Started as a 2D animator, and in 2001 I discovered the 3D world. Everything was very new and fresh back then. So since then I've been working just as an animator and have about now 15 years production experience. Worked in Germany, England, Netherlands, and of course in Australia. Australian productions that you know, there were Walking with Dinosaurs. That was like, I think, the last one. Then Happy Feet 2 and Legend of the Guardians, House of Gahul. So I was just a character animator on that movies. For the last 2 years, I've been working as a teacher. So I started a new career. I'm really happy that I've done that. That's a lot of fun. And so here we are. And yeah, I'm really happy to share my knowledge with you guys. I hope you will find it very useful and can upgrade your animation style after that. All right, so then we can move on to. All right, so I'm going to show you a little piece from the movie you all know. A second. So this is this movie. And this is the Snow White by Walt Disney. This movie was made in 1937. And as you know, well, I hope you know, or if you don't know, I'm going to tell you now. So that the most of this movie, like the main characters, the human characters, the Queen, the Snow White, the Prince, they were animated via rotoscoping. So it means they shoot first the live action sequence and then they transfer that to the 2D, really frame by frame. It's a lot of work. So the old wars, of course, they were animated just keyframe by hand, but the main characters, this is that they were all really live action footage what they used. So this is why it's looking so nice. But what I wanted to show you is just so that you will have a look at the hand specifically, because this the hands in this movie animated so beautifully. So of course they copied the movements of the real actors. But if you just have a look the grouping of the fingers, you have a look at the position of the fingers, how the fingers are in relation to each other, what they do, how many different really tiny movements you actually have while you just talking. So because this is very important, so that you really pay attention to that and try to animate that in your animation, because that gives a lot of life to your character. And unfortunately, this is very common in 3D world, that the hands are looking just awful. They are flat, they are just kind of dead, they have no expression whatsoever. So have a look at this, for example, this frame, the position of the hands, and it's all supporting, and even the hand which is her right hand, which is down there, still that supports her facial expression and the moment she's in, her reaction, right? So the same is with the Snow White. Her hands are also very, very, the fingers are moving a lot. Just have a look at the fingers when she'll come to the wheel here. Right. Beautiful birds. Right, so have a look here at her fingers, what they're doing. So just to lower her right hand down, so like that, the right arm is going down, and the finger is just a little bit out. The one finger out, the other three fingers are grouped together. When she's singing here, have a look what she's doing with her left hand with the fingers. She's pretending a little bit like she's going to play like a piano. So she's tapping, you see. So one finger, another finger, she's changing the fingers there. And all the poses, they are just very natural and very, well, for her, of course. I don't think you should probably do this, try to create this finger pose for like male muscular character. I don't think it will work together with some really bulky fingers. But specifically for her, this is exactly the style, and it's looking nice, and it's working well, and especially it gives so much life. All this little tapping with a finger, for example, what she's doing. So, all right, so it's basically, let's have a look here. All right, and that's the princess coming. So basically what it is, and now we're going to go to the Maya file. So I'm back here, you can see me again. I downloaded this free rig. This is Matilda, in case you don't know. This is a free rig, but by downloading the free rigs, you always need to read the license agreements, have a look what is in there, where you can use it, where you can't use those rigs. They are free, but not for everything. Right, for the educational purposes, they're definitely free. So I'm going to show you something with this rig, and I must say it is really good rig. I animated um, several scenes with her, and specifically I really like her hands and her facials. Today we're going to have a look at her hands. This is why just selected her. As you can see, it's actually the rest of the body is not really important for us right now. We just have a look at the hands. So the hands control. So it's just Ike handle. What I have here right now. So her hand controls are quite yeah, well, you usually see those like you have a controls here on the fingers, and I actually prefer having the controls around the fingers rather than to have them in a here in the channel box. So like rotating the joints, I like to do it here directly on the character. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna set the key so that we're not gonna lose any animation in case we're gonna do any, and we will do any. So the first thing, this is what we all call, this is default hand, right? This is default hand. This is the hand like the character was modeled. It is absolutely flat. It has no expression whatsoever, and it's quite ugly. Well, for animation, right? So, and unfortunately, many animators just ignore that and just they leave it and say, all right, I don't care. Well, it's a hand as a hand. It's not. It is very annoying to see the sometimes with quite a good characters and character animation, but the fingers, the hands are animated very badly, or they're really still in the default pose. I teach my students to get rid of the default pose quite from the beginning, from the blocking. So when you start the blocking, you just create straight away to create a relaxed pose. I call it relaxed pose, fingers, um, and just leave it for now, because at the end of the day, you animating the fingers just at the end when you start really polishing your animation. And but it's still somehow it's helping to create the character. And uh, when if you have a nice hand pose, I don't know why. It's quite often that the way it is. All right. So so we'll talk about the rotation, for example. This is one of the biggest, well, it is quite a mistake, I would say. When animators starting to rotate the hand in this axis, which is extremely painful. And if you have a look at your hand, your hand can't really rotate far in this direction. So this joint here, I can't really go far, so right? So you rotate the hand in this direction easily, but not in opposite direction. So there is a little bit play, a little bit space, but it is not so much. So, and it's quite often the hands are looking just extremely ugly if they are over rotating in this axis. All right, so just be careful on that. Usually their hands are looking better if you have a little, so then it's showing a little bit up or a little bit more down, but not really 100% straight. Okay. So now we're going to group the fingers, and so kind of to this relaxed default position I was talking about. Oops. And so how you can see if the rig is good, it's very easy to see. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. And this is why even if you select the all controls and just rotate them down, in a good rig, in a good rigged character, you actually can create something like a fist. Okay, so this is not what we're going to do now, but I'm just showing it to you. So what we're going to do is the first thing, we're going to rotate the first joint. So we're going to rotate it a little bit down so we don't have a flat hand here, right? So that's getting already much, it's looking much better, even by doing that. Also, I must say that this character has very nicely modeled fingers as well, very nicely modeled hands. Also not that often to see in what is it? In free rigs. Come on, I don't want to do this. So, all right. So then I'm going to group them. I will take this little finger a little bit away, and I take this finger just a tiny bit forward, and just probably leave it there. And I go to the second, to the next finger and rotate it a little bit more down. So, then the ring finger. Okay. So now I group the ring finger and the middle finger. Oops, the wrong one. I group them together. Okay. So the next step, I will adjust the second joint. Just go a little bit down. And on the pinky finger. So a little bit down. And we need to put this one down as well. All right, so I think it is quite nice, relaxed um, finger pose on a hand pose. Not so high up. Okay, so now we're going to do the thumb, because the thumb is also a bit sticking a little bit too far out. Just bring a bit more in. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. I must say this because this character is modeled very well. The fingers, the end of the fingers, the fingertips are looking very nice. Quite often they are really like bulky and straight, and yeah, so you most likely you might need to rotate this joint as well to get a nice shape. For this character, we don't really need to do that because it's looking nice now. Okay, so I've got this relaxed pose. And if I'm gonna go back, and if I just even take her arm now down into kind of normal position, just I'll assume her hand is just down next to her body. And as you can see, this position, the finger position, is looking quite natural. And if I would animate her further, so it is fine. I will be really happy to have this this finger pose as a default pose now. So I wouldn't recommend you to copy and paste kind of if you can copy the animation from one hand to another hand. I wouldn't recommend that because that's just everything is quite asymmetrical in our bodies, and if you have exactly the same finger position on the other hand, that will look a bit weird. Always have a little bit of symmetry, a little bit different from another one. Okay, so now I want to show you how to animate just the fingers. If your arm is moving, the hand is moving, what to do with the fingers, how to support the movements and the whole action with your arm, how to support it by animating the fingers. So what I want to do, I don't know if you can see this, I'm going to do kind of wish, like swish with a hand. She's going to do, and we'll just key a couple of poses in the beginning. All right, I have here elbow. Yeah, and by the way, guys, if you are having any, you're gonna have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask them in the chat, and I will receive them and I will reply to your questions. So that's just type it in the chat window, please. Okay. So I'm gonna do probably like 1 second maximum. So we get down here. Let's just swing a little bit up. Yeah, probably get a little bit. So I'll create a little arc now. So I'm going up, and she's hanging a little bit here. Getting anticipation just before she swings her arm forward. Boom. Yeah, Maya froze a bit. Sorry, Maya. What's happening? Okay, here we go again. Okay, so these are just the basic, couple of basic poses for the movement. So, and swing. All right. Swing down. Good. All right, so just the basics, the really simple movement. So that need to work as well before we start animating the fingers. Again, fingers always come in last, so don't forget about that. So you need to get your animation right, the timing right, before you start animating the fingers. All right, and we'll go kind of settle down at the end.